has been submitted, then it's got to know, all the various steps of the workflow. There's, I think in that case there's, 8 different potential stops along the workflow path for people to approve. Those are all defined through responsibilities of the role. This is just a screenshot where you see some of what's going on specifically in workflow. So you can see here some of the various, these are 4 of the responsibilities associated with a specific role. In this case, you've got exception, the account organization, and subfund. I think as you can see looking down the left-hand side.
Right. So this is where you can see where the role is wired to a route node. And this particular screenshot is from Routing and Identity Management Document Type Hierarchy screen in Administration tab if you're interested in looking at that later. This is where you're going to see, okay, now there is this route node, who is wired into that. And you can look at the role, and actually you can click into the role. You can do that from the screen and see who are assigned to that role. It's a very convenient screen to do your study. Okay, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about how KIM is integrated with KFS. Now that we know the background of KIM, how does it manifest itself in the KFS application? Tony talked about derived roles earlier. So those are some of the, this is not comprehensive, it's just a part of the listing of the derived roles. Fiscal officer, for instance, is derived from an account attribute. So is a supervisor. Actually, when you're defining account, you're going to enter the principal name of the fiscal officer and supervisor. Primary and secondary delegates are based upon account delegate table. University chart manager is based upon the chart attribute. Award project director is coming from the award document definition. So let's talk about the fiscal officer and account supervisor. In the upper left corner, you can see the account document, which defines the fiscal officer and the supervisor. Lower, the bottom half of the screen shows the derived role definition, 41 account. And if you read the role description, you can see what this role is supposed to do.
Yeah, just one thing you should know, when she says like 41 or 9, that's the role ID. When you actually get into developing the system, those IDs are consistent from implementation to implementation because they come with the default data. So for those working on an implementation, you'll get to memorize most of those just because they're used so often.
Right. By the time you get to you're an expert. So let's look at the next screen. This is how the route log looks like. Route log is where you can see where it is in the workflow routing. This is the example of account maintenance document. I initiated the account document and changed description or something and initiated it. Now it went to the fiscal officer for approval and FII for the supervisor. So that is one example of how that derived role works. The second example is a little bit complicated. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit on the screen, and I'm going to show you how that works in actual documents. This talks about how disbursement voucher document receives the campus code, and which ties to who can process the payment in PDP. So initially in KIM, you're going to define 3 actors. One is the initiator of the document, which is the KFS user, and you define a processor based upon the campus code, and you define the customer contact based upon the PDP profile ID. So just to know, you have to define those 3 roles. And then when the DV or disbursement voucher initiator initiates the document, the campus code is assigned based upon the primary department of the initiator defined in the role qualifier that Tony talked about earlier. And then when the disbursement voucher gets extracted into PDP, and for those who do not know what PDP is, and I apologize for throwing out all those alphabet soup, but PDP is a pre-disbursement processor where you format the checks. In the customer profile, there is a processing location by campus and a profile ID. And so let's just talk through how that works. Here is the KIM screen, the person document. The user is K. Huntley. And the primary department code is UA-VPIT. So now we define one actor, which is the DV initiator. Define a customer contact person. And here we have a roll number 18. Then we define the customer profile ID per the customer contact. And then here we define another actor who is the PDP processor who actually can format checks. We're going to enter in campus code associated with the principal ID.
And you've heard us talk about qualifiers a few times. What you're seeing here is actually just different versions of the same page. But in this one, you'll see that there's a customer profile ID. The rest of the columns are the same. In this one, it's campus code. The rest of the columns are the same as the previous example. That's where the qualifiers come in, where you set up for a permission which attributes are going to help define who is allowed to perform that permission.
So then what happens is that, let's say I am initiating the disbursement voucher document as K. Huntley. Behind the scenes, it's looking at my primary organization, which was BIPT. The chart was UA, thank you. So now the program will look up, the system will look up what that would be from an organization table. And this is a screenshot from organization table. That organization physical campus code is BL. So let's go. And now I am K. Huntley, initiated the disbursement voucher. Magically, campus code appeared because behind the scenes, it looked at the organization table. Now, in between this screen and the screen before, I have run the PDP disbursement voucher extract job. Now, program assigns the customer ID based upon a couple more parameters. So now you can see this customer assigned as BL, KUAL, DV. Now, when we look at the customer profile that we just got assigned, you can see now customer ID is broken into three pieces: BL, KUAL, and DV. You can see that there's a customer profile ID number and the campus processing location, BL. This might ring your bell. In an earlier discussion, I was defining the processor and a customer contact. So that is the tie. This determines who can then look at, inquire the checks or the payment information that got produced by the disbursement voucher, and who can process that payment and make it into a check or ACH. So that is a full cycle. Now, having said that, there is a way to override it for the disbursement voucher, which is what Tony was talking about initially regarding the namespace. You can set up multiple primary departments for the specific, for the user role using namespace qualifier. For instance, I can say for financial processing, which is a namespace of KFS-FP, I like to always be my primary department to be psychology. Whereas if I'm using AR, I want to be chemistry, and so on. So let's say that in this example, I have overwritten the primary department of UAVPIT that I assigned at the 4K Huntley with the roll number 54, KFS SIS, with the qualifier of KFSSC. Now, for the financial processing, I am telling the primary department to be chart code of EA and ACAD, which stands for academics. Now, let's initiate the disbursement voucher. All of a sudden, the campus code assignment has changed, which means that different processor, PDP processor,